All right. Hi. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to day three of IGDC. We had two fabulous days packed with information, packed with some of the best, creators of games, and I'm sure you had a chance to, listen to a lot of them. So, welcome to day three, and this is the first session today. I mean, there are multiple sessions happening, but 6 p.m. is the first session. And my name is Arjun. I am the moderator for this session, and the panel is called The Future of Mobile Gaming in India. I have four panelists with me, and one more panelist is yet to join. He will join us very shortly. And on the E panel, we have Mohan, we have Samith, and we have Rituraj. I would request, in the same order, if you could give a quick introduction about what you do and what are you passionate about, and then we can start over the session, starting with Mohan.
Yeah. So I'm Mohan Das, co-founder of Chennai Games Studio Private Limited. So we are based out of Chennai. So we are focusing on mobile game development. So our first product is MR Racer, Mr. Racer. So we are into racing a genre, and we are also focusing on shooting genre as well.
Perfect. Samith?
Hi, I'm Samhit. I'm the founder of Born Monkey. We've been making a lot of mobile games for the past 3 to 4 years. So we found our first success with Auto Raja. It's a regular combat shooter game. We've been doing a lot of stuff in the RMG space for a lot of time.
Perfect. Thank you. And Rituraj?
Yeah, I'm Rituraj Behra. I'm founder and chief product officer at Simple Studio. We develop casual free-to-play mobile games for the global market. Currently working on two games, one that we cannot disclose, it's in early stage, and one which is out there with a Canadian publisher. It's called Cooking My Story. It's a time management, a simulation, story-driven kind of a game. And also previously we used to also be a publisher, but for Indian market. So we were a developer and publisher in the Indian market till 2019, actively doing that. And we had about 25 to 30 million installs from our complete portfolio of games in India. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So I would directly start off, with the questions. And, if you can quickly, from your perspective, this is just an icebreaker kind of session. I mean, where do you think the Indian, gaming industry is right now from your perspective? It could be just a word, it could be a sentence, positive, negative, whatever it is. What do you think? I want all of you to answer this question, starting with, let's say, Samith.
We are doing pretty good if you ask me. We're making a lot of, you might have heard Play Simple Exit, and we've done a good, indie games are also popping up, a lot of indie games, and there are few indie companies that are making AA to AAA games right now, at least announced. So it's a wide spectrum, a lot of different types of games are coming out. Very healthy, I would say. The current status of the development scene in India.
Perfect. Rituraj?
Yeah, I think this just my perspective. I think this is one of the best years that the Indian game development had. I think, he mentioned about Play Simple of over $300 million exit. Moonfrog had an exit over 100 million, if I'm not mistaken. I heard recently Mukti, a game from Underdog Studios, they got funding from Epic, which is really awesome. I think we are really getting up there, even with console games. And also in the past, we had history with Asura and Raji getting international recognition also. So I think we are clearly climbing up right now from a development standpoint.
Mohan, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. This is one of the such a great years. Last year, this year is amazing year in terms of game development perspective, because it looks like a lot of gaming studios, a lot of small indie developers came up with a lot of good content. That particular with hyper casual games. And not only that, of course, as mentioned, Raji, in terms of visual quality, it looks like a very international standard, very standard game. Which means our creative space and the technical space, everything is getting emerged over the period of time. And on top of it, of course, this year is a milestone year for us in terms of gaming space, because Nazara went IPO. It's a rocket. I mean, the valuation is more, and this is a milestone for a milestone, a great recognition for us. I mean, in terms of Indian game developers. Okay, so a lot of things are happening. A lot of indie developers are coming out. It's amazing. We are in the right track. So a lot
Perfect,
of things
perfect.
will happen in the
Yeah,
next 2 or
that
3
was
years.
something that I wanted to ask in terms of a studio perspective, and you all had answered that. So taking a segue from, I mean, taking inputs from what you had just said. I mean, you're talking about the lockdown, right? So the lockdown has created new opportunities. I mean, if you look at it that way, and has increased engagement for game companies. So what do you think is the trend on user engagement and retention post the lockdown? Is it a trend that you think is here to stay, or would definitely continue? And I think let's say, Ritu, if you can start off.
Yeah, in terms of, sorry, you asked about the trend post the lockdown, right?
Yeah, I mean, during lockdown
Yeah,
and post lockdown also in terms of
yeah.
creation. Yeah.
I think we saw some short-term high downloads and engagement and retention going up. Uh, and I think in the long term, if I can assume, I think a lot of adoption has happened for games because people were forced to be indoors. They didn't have a choice but to find out ways to entertain themselves. And games were an obvious choice, right, at that time. So it not only increased engagement of current already existing players, but it also brought on board a lot of new players who played games for the first time in India. So I think those were the short and long term impacts I think that COVID had.
One, I think you also
Yeah.
had some thoughts to share on that.
Yeah, sure. So, in terms of see this lockdown and during this pandemic time, as everyone knows, we are, I mean, kids and youngsters are forced to use mobile devices, right? So, in terms of the number of gamers that really pumped up, the user behavior completely pumped up. So, whoever is not playing games, let's say maybe 2 years back, are now playing games. It looks like it completely the surge during the lockdown. We can able to see a significant amount of gamers. We also faced a lot of. We also saw a lot of increase in the downloads, user engagement. Like user engagement went nearly 50% more, and the downloads looks like a 3 to 4% up. So completely, it looks like the complete normal audience become gamers now. It looks like a 20 to 30% are uplifted as a gamers. It looks like that.
Okay, perfect. And hey, thank you. And everyone, we have Deepak also on the panel. I'm glad he could
Yeah,
finally, we could have you here. Hey, Deepak, so quickly, if you could give an introduction to everyone who's listening, that would be great.
yeah. Thanks, Arjun. Yeah, sorry for joining late. There were some technical challenges. So I'm Deepak, founder and CEO of Creative Monkey Games. So in Creative Monkey, we are doing variety of games and majorly focusing on cricket and multiplayer and casual games. So yes, so a lot more interesting games which we are working on right now, which are yet to release very soon.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. And everyone who is tuned in, quick information that I would want to give out to you. You can also rate the session that you are listening to right now. If you see to your right corner, there is the handout button. You can click on it, and you can, let us know your feedback live to what this session is providing to you. So just that was just a quick information that I wanted to give to you. So yeah, already. So in terms of before I move into the next thing, I mean, we are looking at a lot of things like, can game design be taught or can it be acquired? I mean, especially when we are looking at, lockdown has been producing, I mean, at least in the forefront, there are a lot more downloads, there are a lot of people putting money. But in terms of, in terms of the culture, setting that as a culture, can that be provided, or how can we get better at being, a game developer for that point? So, Samit, if you would want to go up first.
Yeah, I mean, game designing is a very core part of game development, the whole cycle of it. So it's one of the most fundamental things that we need to get right. So I mean, if you ask, can game design be taught? the rules of game design can be taught. The rest of it is pure instinct. So it's up to the game designer to play a ton of games, see what's clicking, what creates a certain mood in the player, what evoked an emotion. So these are all stuff that game designer has to find out by himself. There are great resources out there that you can look up. There are a lot of YouTube, GMYTK. There is one guy who does that. So the rules of game design can be taught, yes, but you will have to find that, a library of mechanics that you'll have to keep in your arsenal. Just continuously playing a lot of tons of games, making sure that you are not being a gamer, but you'll have to be the observer. So you'll have to observe and just take a lot of stuff in, and then once you're like, let's say you're sitting down and making a design, probably bring in some of the stuff from your arsenal. So yeah, that is how I would ask someone to approach game design. So play a ton of games. You'll have to learn a lot of game designs. Some are like cutting edge that do experimental stuff. A lot of indie games do that. There's a lot to learn with in the indie space, because the mainstream games do what is like stable, or what is like accepted by the majority of the audience. So for game designers, best place to look at is indie genres. All the indie games, they do a lot of interesting stuff, new stuff, great mechanics. Some are like never done before. So yeah, that is how I would ask someone to approach game design.
Ritu, I mean, if you have your points to share on
Yeah,
this.
sure. I don't know. Like I've never done a game design course like this. Talking from a personal standpoint, I thought the best way was just dive in and make games. Just start making games, and when we started making games, we started learning about game design at the same time. Like it was like more of a practical way of approaching for us. So I think there are two aspects to it. Like I'll give an analogy to movies. I think we've been watching movies since childhood, right? So we know what a good movie is. Uh, the same thing has to happen even with games, right? Very niche audience used to play games 20 years ago, but that has become a mass phenomenon like 5 years ago in India. So this is very natural that we might not be that great to start with, but you'll see as the years go on, people get a better sense of what a good game design is, what a good game is, and then apply that to their game design skills. So I think, yeah, playing a lot of games, as Samit said, correct. I completely agree. Playing a lot of games immerses you in the experience, and games are nothing but experiences at the end of the day, right? And then applying some scientific approaches that you can learn from, like, searches online, or, doing a course or whatever you need to do. It has to be a mix of both, I guess.
All right. To be
I want to add.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so yeah, I want to add few points on top of it. So, like, of course, we used to do game design with respect to target audience in mind first. Okay, so who are our target audience are? So, particularly if whether it is adult or maybe kids, something like that. So maybe that will be our first entry point will be, and then so we as a game designer, we want to they themselves need to be feel the enjoyment. They need to focus on that. They need to really get into the mood of it. Okay, that is the key in order to bring the required essence and various aspects into the game. So that way, if we involve much into it, so definitely the game design will be more unique, more enjoyable, and the journey will be more promising.
I
Yes.
think Deepak, if you would answer on that, go ahead, or I have a question for you anyway.
Yeah, sure. So one last point, maybe I can add. I think almost they covered all the aspects of game design. So one thing which I would like to highlight is about the deriving the concept from the life or some simple things. That is one thing. And second thing is the creativity. So one thing, what will happen is when we see so many games, when we play so many games and understand the game mechanics, we will be inclined to adapt certain gameplay, or we will mix it or merge it. So these are the usual side effects of looking multiple game designs. But there is one more approach where when we see simple things which touches your life, or which people will enjoy, that can create that will open doors for innovation. So that is something like in Creative Monkey we always do. Like whenever we come up with a concept, even if it is a useful genre, so we always look for what can be innovative in this or what can be different in this. So that aspect will definitely help any game developer to stand out of the crowd.
Great, great. And this again, I mean, Deepak, I wanted to answer this also. I mean, what do you think are the, I mean, since talking about taking the audience into mind, so what do you think are the new or evolving genres or formats of games that you see, will delight our players, not just now, but say, let's say in the immediate future? And how should a game company think about innovation at that point of time to ensure that they not just delight the users, but also have them captured and engaged?
Yeah, so I think it's more or less I can explain better my previous answer. So the thing is, see, we can't predict any genres like this genre is going to be hit because after this hyper casual is booming, has boomed like anything. So I'm a game designer myself. So I always see like whenever I see the top hyper casual games, I always feel that how did I miss this idea? Because it will be very simple and also it will be like anybody can think about it, right? So that's what I told. Like the game design has to touch the audience, and especially a genre like hyper casual where you make games for everybody. So even a kid or anyone who plays this game, they should feel that yeah, this is something I love it, right? And so there is no such genre. Like that's what I'm saying. Like after the hyper casual came, it broke all the genres. Maybe battle royale is something still very hot, and so many biggies are getting into that. But still, this hyper casual has broken everything. And even an unorthodox game without any genre, if it is full of fun, people are going to play it for sure. That is one thing. And regarding innovation, yeah, as I already told, derive from life or derive something which will make the user like wow. And one thing which I would like to quote is like you can even derive from your dream, whatever things you can do in your dream or some fantasy, so that people are enjoying it, right? I can quote few examples. Like I saw some game where like growing your hair, and there will be a female character. So that is something like it's just a simple thought, right? You can't do it in real life. You can't have a 100 feet hair on real life, but still in gameplay, it is game. Anything is possible.
Just taking an
Yeah.
input from that, I mean, do you think there is a fine line or a very thick practical line that lies between what you said? I mean, in terms of dream, I mean, there is practicality on one side and there is PR on one side, right? I mean, so how do we sort of, from a game company's perspective, how do we sort of draw the lines that, yes, I mean, we have to think about new imaginative games, but just to add to the question, I mean, I'm one of you can
Yeah.
answer this. So where do we draw that line?
See, that's where the prototypes come into picture. Like, so as soon as the design is ready, so you will get excited, and instead of directly jumping into and making it a full-fledged development process, make a prototype, share it with people, uh, I mean, mix it audience and collect their feedback. Then definitely you will get at that line. Like you will see that line. Where is that? So then yes, then we have to capture that and add masala to it, and then deliver it.
Okay. And go ahead, Ritu, you have a point?
Yeah, I think if talking about innovation, how we do it is like we just see which are the areas that need innovation, because we have to think of it like we do think of it like a business at the end of the day. So we are like, okay, we got to make something similar to this, but give this kind of a little twist. For example, when we are making our cooking game for the global market, we did things very closely to another company. We learned a lot from them, but we said, okay, what can we bring new to this game that this game could not do? And we realized it could be the story. The story was not that great from that game, and we are like, we can bring a romantic story angle to it and make it much more interesting, right? So that's how we look at innovation. It's like it's wherever required, you have to give enough innovation, because that then becomes the USP of your game.
Yeah, like you said,
So,
yeah, I want to add few points on top of it. Yeah, generally, we at Chennai Games, right? So we used to, as Ruturaj said, so we used to benchmark the best quality game in that genre. So and then bring in our own creativity, and then our own how we are going to differentiate from there in terms of bringing in more features, either multiplayer or maybe according to users' requirement. So we'll add such kind of masala or whatever that gimmicks into the gameplay in order to make it much better than that and in a much different way.
There was one of you had also mentioned in the introduction, and this is a question that I open to everyone, but I would first want Mohan to answer. Is mobile gaming the future of esports?
Yeah, definitely. See, mobile games is already there in esport, if you ask me. So because it's there in India, of course, it's booming right now. So on top of it, it looks like so we have the devices, the mobile devices that comes now recent days are getting a much better in terms of hardware capabilities. Okay, we have the mobile devices getting better and better over the period of time in terms of a hardware perspective. And on top of it, the internet penetration, the power of internet, I mean, the internet strength is also much better. And on top of it, the data affordability is also cheaper. I mean, it's much affordable. Okay. On top of it, the esport system on its own, it looks like there's a lot of new revenue streams. Okay, so in terms of sponsorship, in terms of fans following, of course, there's a lot of revenue streams. One is, of course, sponsorship, of course, the prize money, and then a merchandise around it, tickets, and the amount of tournament that is happening. It's already there. On top of it, so if you ask me, the esport, it looks like even the Olympics supposed to have esports. Okay, in the 2022 Asian Games are supposed to have a esport. Okay, so it's already there. Okay, so it's matter of time. Maybe in a 1 year, 2 years down the line, it is going to explode like anything. And on top of it, if you ask me, right, so like some time back or maybe days back, so most of the kids or youngsters looks like they want to be athletics, either in football or maybe in cricketer. They want to be like cricketer or footballer. Okay, but now the culture is slightly changing. So it looks like they are changing towards they want to be like professional esport players. Okay, so it looks like the trend is changing, or maybe the influencer that is influencer around it. Okay, so it looks like very interesting future is ahead for esport. It's very interesting. It's supposed to be a very interesting journey. We can look forward for it.
Great. So this is a quick question to all of you, since you mentioned, mobile gaming can definitely, be a power force in esports. What is your choice of mobile device as of 2021? Which mobile device would you pick as your weapon? And I would want to start with Samit.
I mean, I'm using an iPhone, so I'm playing a lot of Pokemon Unite right now. Pretty good.
Mobile device would you suggest and say, hey, this is what I think is the best device for me to play games on?
Yeah, for Android, I would say OnePlus has great phones. So
Okay.
gold standard has been OnePlus, but obviously iOS is iOS. I've been playing a lot of games on iOS recently. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, see, I used to play mostly on Android phones because I can easily surf between multiple games, multiple genres. It's also faster. So I'm using OnePlus.
Oh, great. 2 OnePlus users, 3 including
So
me. So
yeah,
Rituraj.
See, I was going to say I have a OnePlus. I got a OnePlus 9 very recently, in fact.
Okay.
So I've always loved this device. I felt it's extremely lightweight and games work great on this phone. So OnePlus, please give us some sponsored money because we mentioned you 3
I know,
times.
right? So we did reach out to them. So we should share this video.
This session
Let's
has to
see
be
if Mohan
sponsored
is
by
also
OnePlus.
OnePlus user or not.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. OnePlus is the
Okay, now,
Oh God.
okay. Audience, we are not branding OnePlus. Gave us nothing to talk about this, but we are all using OnePlus. We can show our phones if you want. This is a OnePlus device too, so we all have it. So anyway, so thanks for that. And there are multiple, from an Indian perspective, there are multiple models also. If we can follow, I mean, one of the closest that we come from a development or a developing country perspective is the Turkey model, right? I mean, and they have been successful in coming out with some fabulous games, and some fabulous companies have been established there. So what do you think, from an Indian business perspective, what do you think we can learn from that model? um, Samit, Deepak, Rituraj, Mohan, anyone?
Sorry, from the
Yeah.
Turkey model?
From the Turkey model, yes.
Sorry, Samit, you go ahead.
Yeah. So our CTO is from Turkey, so Umram Sedin. So I've been in touch with him, and I've had this discussion a lot of times. So I think I'll have some interesting points here. So according to my research and what our CTO has said, there's a lot of talent pool that is coming. The youth has been exposed to a lot of high quality software development education. So that is one thing, and there is a very competitive offers for entry level developers. So that is the reason why there is a lot of hype or a lot of money revolving around hyper casual in that country. So a lot of people coming in at entry level, mass production of these games and testing these games, and then so uh, the main reason for this is one more effect that we had, something like demonetization for us. An effect there was a currency debt they had. Their currency fell at the same time when Zynga was acquiring Peak. So everything came together, and uh, most of the developers were happy with normal salaries, and a lot of hyper casual prototypes have been like thousands or 2000s of them have been made. So that all the stuff together came together, and that is how a boom of economic boom happened because of this. There have been one more company that I've been following from Turkey. It's called Dream. So they have made something called Royal. So it has gone. Maybe they launched it, and in the next 4 months they were a unicorn. So a lot of progress in terms of casual and hyper casual there. Uh, but primarily they're still mobile centric. They are not cross platform by any means. So they are heavy on mobile. They know that they are dependent on fast development cycles. So that model. I mean, we can learn a lot of stuff from Turkey, but a lot of it is very circumstantial. Like has happened because of a lot of events. What we can learn from Turkey is their bet on mobile has paid off. A lot of massive startups have come out of the country. So I think that is something that we can learn from them.
Mm. I
Sure, go for it.
just wanted to add, if I think government has supported the ecosystem a lot
Yeah, there are a
there.
lot
Like
of
I was just
government
doing some
grants.
reading. Yeah, like there were three benefits they were giving, like almost 60 to 70% of the marketing related cost. They were covering up to four people, technical employees. They were paying 12 to 15 months salary. Up to $300,000 of commission that's taken by Apple and Google were kind of refunded to these companies. So I think Canada had that model that really worked for them. Like they had started with incentivizing the ecosystem. And I think Turkey had really focused on the mobile gaming ecosystem and incentivizing it. So all the best talent pool kind of came together, I guess, there because of that. And I'm sure that government support has also played a big part in the success story of Turkey.
Well, this makes me want to bring an earlier question, and sort of I would want you to elaborate a little bit on it. I mean, in terms of following country models and various other things. I mean, usually mobile games are broken into a few segments, like three or four. I mean, it's engineering, art, game design, and production, right? So, where do you think our as an India entity, where do you think our strengths lie, and what should we get better at as game developers? What do you think we should get better at? I mean, Deepak, if you want to start off.
Yes. See, I would say that definitely the talents are there. We can't say that there are no talents here, but the focus and the belief should be there. Like the mindset is like, okay, if it is art, then always the Western companies will do it better. It's a mindset here. So that has to be broken. And as every gaming company should believe that, I mean, we can create benchmarks, right? So that mindset should be changed. And yes, as far as talents are concerned, yeah, maybe the pay scale can be one challenge, I will say, right? And the developers also like looking for freelancers from other countries. Like we always have that mindset, like okay, if this is this kind of style, then go for that kind of a freelancer from that country. So that mindset, if we change it, then definitely the talents are there and we can utilize them.
Okay. And to the similar question, do we see a reverse kind of outsourcing happening? I mean, I see there are few companies who have their, we mentioned the Turkey model, right? Who have their bases present in Turkey, in Vietnam, and Philippines also for that matter. So do you think, to sort of take care of certain segments, if not the whole thing, that we as an entity would start, outsourcing a bit of our work to multiple other countries, maybe even to the US and the Europe also for that matter? What are your thoughts? Anyone can answer it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is already happening with art, right? So, Dhruva got acquired and became Rockstar India. We have Ubisoft. We have EA here. I mean, we have right here in Hyderabad, Little Red Zombies that is working closely with a lot of console games. Recently, they worked on Ghost of Tsushima. So, as a broader perspective, I would say art is our heavy. What do you say? We are very good at it. I've seen a lot of interesting stuff come out of Indian outsourcing companies. So, yeah, it's already happening. Dhruva Interactive worked on a lot of Marvel, Spider-Man stuff, bringing the city alive. They worked on um, Forza City. So, yeah, art definitely. Programming is also we're getting strong, but right now we are the outside world is looking at us for art right now.
Okay. And in that case, Ritu, you have a point to add?
I didn't. Were you asking if we would start outsourcing to other countries some work?
That's what I was asking. Yes.
Okay. So we are already doing that in our studio. Like there's some really good pockets of places, where there are smaller teams that are super passionate and know what they're doing. So we are doing it in a very small scale right now, but I'm pretty sure a lot of other bigger companies must be definitely doing that. I think, yeah, slowly as the more money flows into the industry as a whole, we would probably start doing that as well. That's what I think.
So, talking about the art perspective, also, I mean, there have been a lot of entities, and let's say, some of the most popular games, especially console games, that have been made into films and movies, also for that matter. Do you see? There's a sort of a two-part question. I mean, one part is sort of asked a million times, but the point is, do you see a mobile game? It could be Indian, let's say from an Indian perspective or otherwise. Do you think that can be made into a movie? The second part, which is sort of an add-on to it, is, I mean, we are extremely mythology heavy, right? I mean, there's a lot of stories that are still untold or can still be told in our own format. So in these formats, do you think we would get strong in bringing out IPs as a film rather than the reverse also for that matter? And Deepak, if you want to start off, and then I'll ask the others to pitch.
Sure. We already did a couple of movie games earlier. So we have that experience. And here, like when we say, when you ask, are we foreseeing that? I think it's already there. So, but it depends on the production company, I will say. I can put it in that way, like if, because at the end of the day, it's a business for them. So they have to pick the best or the more popular games to reach the eyeballs, right? Maybe so that's it. Still looks like I'm not saying I'm not. It looks like it's very few will take that risk, not everybody. So it's very rare, I will say. And as you said, like when we have so many stories from mythology, all those things are there. Yes. So, but somebody has to dare to make a big game out of it to create that popularity so that it can convert it to be a movie.
Anyone else would like to add to that?
I
Okay.
mean, yep. Yeah, I mean, the games have to get matured enough to kind of get their own films, right? So we are not, right now, we're not at the stage where we have that kind of funds getting in India to make an IP that is going to turn into a movie, right? So it's going to happen. Maybe in the next 5 years we could see something like that, but currently it's far from a reality.
It's a very interesting point. So again, from the same line, in terms of a game or a type of genre, do you think, from an India perspective, who or what can be the next unicorn, especially in the mobile segment? I mean, we had just mentioned the play simple model also, right? So what do you think the rest of us need, or what do you think we are lacking there to sort of to get to that stage that play simple has got. Mohan, if you would want to start off.
Yeah. See, we as a country, we have a huge talent. Of course, talent base is humongous, and of course now the capitals are flowing in. So it looks like so maybe out of the box. I personally felt that battle royale kind of game should be unicorn out of India. So we have, as Deepak also said, so we have a tremendous amount of talent. But thing is that everything need to be put in right place. The leadership, and of course the capital, and then the technology that we are going to use, and the tools that you are going to build, and the depth of the game is all need to be put together in order to make it perfect. Okay, so definitely I expect, and I personally felt that. So one game out of India, maybe a battle royale game. So that could be a unicorn, next unicorn. Maybe I may be wrong, but I personally felt that. And if that happens, really happy with that, because the amount of work, the amount of modules that it has that stuff, and the depth is very important. So, and what holds us is our focus area, okay, and technical expertise, and then the capital. So maybe for a long run, maybe for a long haul, that could hold us, and the sustainability that is holding us is what I personally felt.
Ritraj, this question is for you. I mean, the hyper casual segment, right? Do you think that is the spark the game developers in India need to go mainstream and get their name out there? Are we? And do you think we are naturally good at it? I mean, do we see like a big international firm coming out of India, something say on the likes of a Voodoo or a Crazy Labs? I mean, where they can also call themselves an India-made company for.
Yeah, I think hyper casual is a good starting point, right? Like it's a very small scope game. You can do a lot of innovation in the core gameplay, in the core loop. So it's a good starting point for like we are very young as a development ecosystem, right? So it is a good starting point for a lot of us. But in terms of becoming a really huge business is a different ball game. So if you know how Voodoo and all these big companies work, they have a huge network of developers around them. They get like tons of games every week to test the numbers of your retention and everything, and they have excellent marketing team to do the cross promotions and boost it up the ranks. And it's a different ball game. It's much more than being a good developer to really be a successful hyper casual publishing studio. But yeah, as a developer, I think it is more natural for us because it's a good entry point, as I mentioned. Hyper casual games and can do a lot of innovation around. So that way, yeah, definitely it would be a good place to be in. And I think a lot of us are already doing that.
Okay, okay. This is a question I want each one of you to answer, and we always talk about the good things and what we can expect and what we can do. I want you to tell me, probably from an individual game creator or a game designer perspective, or from a company perspective, what do you think was your biggest failure? I mean, and that you think, if you had the hindsight, or if you think that I shouldn't have done that, and probably this could be a huge learning, not just for you, but for the developers here also. I would want each one of you to sort of think and tell me what do you think was your, let's say, a biggest disaster or a biggest learning point, and that is something that sort of could have acted as a turning point also. So starting with Samit.
Yeah, I mean, uh, as an individual, I've made a lot of games from the right from my college days. So I've started like I think every beginner developer starts with this mistake. They make a huge game and then it goes out of control. So I've made a game for maybe 2 years of my college in Unreal, and then it all crippled down instantly. After like 2 years, I couldn't manage the project. It was too much for a single guy. So yeah, starting and taking too much, biting too much is something that an indie gamer or a studio itself, let's say a small studio, has to be careful about. Yep.
Yeah. In terms of biggest mistake, so I could understand myself like it's not a mistake; it's a learning down the line. Okay, so meaning so version one is better than version zero, right? So that way, so go to market, the timing is very important. Okay, so, is what I personally understood, not stretching the development time more longer to make it perfect, and then going to market. So instead, with the minimum viable product, it's better to go to the market and then making it, getting the feedback, making it better, and then make it perfect. So that is what the approach should be. I went around the way. So making it perfect, I felt that I took a development time for a long haul, and then I went to a market. So that bited me very much. So that is the mistake. What I did is what I thought. So henceforth, we'll be focusing more, raising out much faster.
Okay. Deepak.
Yeah, all right. So I think I should appreciate Samit and Mohan for putting it in one line, because I think we all have so many things to share when we talk about failures. So yeah. So from my end, if I want to pick one, then I will say about the expectations. Like having too much of expectations, like you, because as a creator you will always love your product, right? And you will feel like, yes, this is going to be the next big thing, but that expectation will at some point will make you to hold it, and as Mohan also said, so you will start adding so many things to it, and when you release it, the at the end of the day the target audience might have a different perspective to it. Then taking that disaster, or taking that feedback, you should have that maturity. So that is something which I would really love, I mean, love to quote here. So it's not about expectations. It's like, of course, any game will have its own result, but you should go fast, you should act fast, or you should fail fast. So that's a thing which I would like to quote here.
Okay. Rituraj.
For us, it was like when we got started, we made games that we felt like making. So that I think was a big mistake. We realized later that you have to have tailwinds on your side. So do a good research on what is already really accepted well in terms of upward trend for a genre or for a type of game, and see, like, what are your team's strength, which of these games can you make well based on your experience or interest. So one learning, a lot of mistakes we did. One biggest learning was like try to understand where the market is going and try to align your team strength that to that direction of the market and make something that will save you tremendous amount of you know time and energy and everything. And you will have, I always put it like, you'll have more tailwinds on your side than headwinds. Like if you're making something that people are not liking to play, it's a headwind. Like you'll work doubly hard to get 0.1% increase in your retention probably. Whereas if you know where the market is going, like Ludo, when Ludo like came up, a lot of smart developers started building Ludo who already were into multiplayer or even not, and they get massive boost in downloads, right? Like it just made your job so much more easier, and you could suddenly run your business as a company as a business, right? So that's one biggest learning we made: just go with the market.
To all the audience listening in, please feel free to post your questions. I'll be happy to pick some of them during the end of our discussion, and I'll pose that to the panel. Moving on, in the big way, moving on. I mean, this is something that has been twisted, turned, and heard a million times, especially over the last 1 month. Metaverse, hot topic, right? I mean, so what do you think are your views on NFT based or metaverse, play to earn models, and from an Indian game entrepreneur's perspective, I mean, how do you think about leveraging these new business models? So, Samith.
Yeah, the play to earn angle has always been there. I think we have real money gaming here, right? So the play to earn angle has always been there. And I think blockchain is what is going to is something new for the market. But the concept, as in putting money and getting money out of a game, has been there for the past 6 years. So Yeah, metaverse. If you are talking about metaverse, I think games have been doing that for ages. So it's just caught up suddenly for some reason. It's just now the new AI, ML, new buzzword in the industry right now with Microsoft and um, Meta getting into the bandwagon. So yeah, metaverse is of course the best metaverse that I've experienced is Rec Room. It's on Oculus. If you haven't played it, it's a very good game. People are getting married in it. It slightly is out of control right now, but yeah, a great example of what a metaverse can be. Yeah, it's here to stay. Metaverse is here to stay, but it's going to be very, very slow. So it's not going to be as revolutionary as people are like portraying it to be. But it's here to stay. It's a good step towards digitalizing whatever we have right now. And obviously, the pandemic has increased the interest in this topic.
Everyone's free to share, starting with Rutraj.
Yeah, I think I understand metaverse is probably a social platform in 3D. Maybe that's how I would think of it, right? Like you go to Facebook on your phone in a 2D scrollable post, and metaverse is like you enter that 3D universe with all the people you can see around you and objects you can see around you. So maybe that's how I'll put it. We are going from
Will it
2D
be
to
fair to call
3D.
it a mobile VR kind of, something like that for that matter?
Yeah, anything
Right.
virtual, put it on virtual. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
I'm still, I think I'm still very amateur in
Getting around it.
defining. There were more better experts to say what a metaverse should really be.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe that is what my understanding is of a little bit of what I understand of metaverse.
No, I think you're right. I mean, in terms of all of us are also trying to understand what this is and where this is going. I mean, to put it, in as plain as you just said it, Rituraj, I mean, it is a social life in the 3D way, right? I mean, when everybody is, sort of jumping into it in a big way, I mean, that is a lot that needs to be explored. I mean, as I was just saying, the mobile VR, digital slot machines, now everything is something that has been existing, but how are you going to utilize that, in the near future? So again, moving on. So what advice, this is something again asked a million times, and after this I'll start picking up a few questions from the audience, because you've spoken about your failures and various other things. I mean, from an entrepreneur perspective, what advice do you have to the new entrepreneurs that are coming out now, let's say college graduates or even people who are trying to make a game for that matter? What do you think that they should do first, and what do you think that they should continue to do, in especially looking at the Indian environment right now? Deepak, if you want to start answering.
Yeah. See, I would say that, determination and be, uh, don't expect, again, I will say this, like, don't expect a overnight success or the very first game and second game or third game. So it's not like that. It's like how strong you are to face your failures will decide your lifetime in gaming. That's how I can put it.
Yeah.
Mohan.
Yeah. So my advice will be like maybe fail fast, learn quick. Okay. So if you want to do it immediately, so that should be the learning curve should be. So that is number one, and number two is if you have a sufficient capital, right? So maybe build your systems in place, build your team ready. So work on your fundamentals. Like your team is your strength. So that is my advice to them. And then um, stick to a particular genre. See, being a startup, right? We always used to jump between genres. We did that mistake. Okay, so if you stick to a particular genre, you can concentrate more into it. In and out. So that way you can do a lot of wonders down the line. So that will be my advice to them.
And this, I would sort of change the question a little bit more for Samath and Rituraj, and then we would go like taking what they both said. What type of genre? I mean, as Mohan was also talking, stick to a type of genre, right? So, um, um, how do you take your game global for that matter? And do you have to game build games differently for a global audience, or is it very similar to your approach for the Indian audience? I mean, do we have to do something very very differently when we want to ensure that our games grow larger than where it is right now? Samit.
Yeah, the taste of our Indian audience has increased tenfold in the past 5 years. So the maturity, the level of quality that people are expecting is almost equivalent to what the Western companies are offering. So from our experience, we recently took four of our games to US on MPL platform. So we have stuck to what we were good at. We had a core loop that was very functional, very addictive, and we had all our basics sorted with the great quality visuals. So it was pretty much most of the heavy lifting has been done by the marketing team and such. But at the same time, the retentions had to be something that our games had to do, right. So we had a great success because we were global first. We put the standards in place so that this could work in any country, right? So it's not about one country. These games were initially made for India, obviously, but we knew that when we're making a game, spending such time, right? So we knew that the standards had to be in place so that this can go. Maybe it can run in Turkey tomorrow, or it can run in Indonesia tomorrow. So, yep.
Turaj, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think if you look at the global market, like I would call it tier one market. Let's put it that way. Like when I say global market, of course the persona is quite different. So you have to understand who you're making it for, because the expectations of that market is very different. Like I'll give an example. Let's say we are making time management games. We are making cooking games. So a US audience might like a more deeper gameplay experience as compared to an Indian market, because Indian people are experiencing game for the first time. So they want something more arcade, more quick to just pick up and play, right? But a US audience might need customization. They might want the core time management experience, but they want customization. They want a great story with it. And the expectations, the benchmarks are just quite different for the Western market. So it's very important to understand who you're making the game for, what are their expectations, and that's why benchmarking becomes very important. Like pick up a game that's already doing well in that market and try to understand why is it doing well in that market, what makes it click in that market. So you'll get a sense of the persona and the kind of mindset that market has, and that shift has to happen for sure in terms of understanding that market and then building accordingly.
Great. So these were sort of the main questions that I wanted to ask, and I was going through the audience, and some of them, sort of echo the similar questions that I wanted to ask. And I'm going to pick one question which is posted by Aditya Ramachandran, and anyone from the panel can answer. Why is there a lack of quality single-player mobile games? I mean, he gave an example of Alto's Adventure from India, and is it because publishers in India are less inclined towards a game like that? Anyone can answer that.
Is Alto's Adventure a premium or a free to? Was it a premium game?
It's a freemium game. It also
Premium, yeah.
has an arcade edition. Yeah, it's also an
I mean,
arcade.
yeah. I mean, not just that. I mean, the question is more towards. I mean, lack of single-player mobile games. I mean, why do you think we don't see too many of that coming out of the Indian market?
I think we are building one. Like the one that we are building is a single player, and there are a lot of other good games out there as well that are building. And Nukebox has built some good ones that have done globally well, good quality.
Okay.
Um, Play Simple has made word games for the global market and captured 40% of the market share, right? So I think there are examples out there. Even Cooking My Story is one game that we are building, and I can happily say that we are almost matching now the quality of the global competitors. So it's probably might not be happening as much as it would happen in other, like the US or the Europe, but it's definitely happening more every year. I would say the number of good games coming out are going up every year.
From anyone else on the panel? Sure. So there's this one question is directed to the Chennai Game CEO. That's what it says. I mean, when will the POR game or POR game, if I'm reading it correctly, come out? That is the question.
Yeah, we're planning to release the beta version during March 2022. Okay, so this is what forcing
Okay.
ourselves. So March
Right.
2022.
And again, to everyone, from your perspective, I know Ritu, you had mentioned you're working on one game that you can't mention, but what is that one thing that, from your company perspective, that the audience, the gaming community, can look forward for? Is there something that you're working on, something that you're coming out with? I think Mohan already answered that with Paul, but others can also answer. Deepak.
Yeah, hi. So we are working on a celebrity cricket game. We have tied up with cricketer Matthew Hayden, and we are working on a title called Heroes 380. So that is something which is I mean, planning to release it very soon. So that is one thing, and of course, very recently we launched a game with MPL. It's called Ludos. So that's a innovative Ludo game, combination of Ludo and Clash Royale kind of gameplay. So that is very recently launched. So I'm working on
Interesting.
other titles as well. Yep. So these are the two things.
Sure. Talking about MPL, Samith, I think you've got a lot of games on MPL, so yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I can take few names, but yeah, we have a lot of single player games are coming on MPL, skill based games. We have a game called I don't know board backgammon that we are launching very soon. So pretty interesting titles. We're also working on a untitled horror game. So that will be for consoles. Yeah.
So if you would want to add further to what you already mentioned, something to look forward from Simple.
Yeah, actually, recently we released a game with MPL called Captain Solo.
Okay.
It's like a more like a very arcade jumper game.
Hmm.
It's based on we've taken like an Indian army kind of a theme, and it's currently live in MPL. And another game, it's based on pets, so it's a pet theme game. So as I told you, right, we found a really nice a gap in the market that we could fill with the kind of expertise we have with the kind of games we make. So yeah, that got green light, MVP green light. So we passed the MVP stage, and right now working on a soft launch phase, going very step by step, and making sure that we can eventually scale it to the next level.
And we are almost towards the end of time, and a couple more questions. Which engine is best for making TPS games? This is one of the questions that the audience have asked. So anyone can answer.
I mean,
Any
yeah,
thoughts?
both Unity and Unreal have very good frameworks. I mean, if you're going for a heavy game, yeah, definitely go with Unreal. But if you're going to scale it for multiple platforms and you want the game to be lightweight, definitely Unity would be great.
Perfect. And
Yeah, it also based on. Yeah, I want to add two points. It also based on the domain knowledge that the team has, right? See, for example, if you are so comfortable with Unity, maybe Unity should be the right choice because even the Free Fire is made with Unity, right? So that way. So it also about your team strength. Okay, if you're good in Unity, go ahead with Unity, or maybe Unreal. If you're good in Unreal, go about it. But a lot of optimization need to be done. So in order to make a heavy lifting of performance, so it's based on your team strength.
perfect. And quickly, I would want to take this opportunity, to thank our sponsors. Our presenting sponsor, as you already know, is Unreal Engine, and our goal sponsors are MPL, AWS, Clans, and Jungly. We have the legacy silver sponsors who have been part of IGDC for a long time. It is GameShin, Lakshya, and Yes No. Quali and Gameon have come in as bronze sponsors, and this time we have a hyper casual track also, and it's sponsored by Sunday. And for the IP Connect, we would also want to thank Succeed Innovation Fund. And quickly, this is a question to everyone, and with 10 seconds or 20 seconds and lesser, one Indian gaming company you admire and why? Starting with Deepak.
Okay. See, I can't name one to be honest because there are we in Creative Monkey make multiple games, so the inspiration is from multiple companies. So I can't definitely name one. So all the companies who have given a huge success are inspiration to us. So I can put it in this way.
Ritu.
Um, I think I really like the story of Play Simple. I've mentioned it a couple of times. I mean, they came from nowhere and, got a massive market share of a very established genre in the market and, exited with a very good valuation. And, this gave a lot of confidence to the whole ecosystem that there can be many such companies like that. And Deepak is right. There are a lot of other examples. This was the one that came to my mind. Nazara is there, Moonfrog is there, but yeah, this one came to my mind the first.
Sure. Mohan.
Not very specific. So to be this thing, I mean, a lot of companies did well, right? See, for example, GameShun done well. So of course, Nazara done well. So it's a collective effort. So we get a lot of inspiration from a lot of already established game development company. Okay, GameShun, of course, Nazara family of games.
Last, Samith.
Yeah, I mean, I really like what Nodding Head Games has done with Raji. So, I mean, I really appreciate what they've done in the indie space. They got a lot of awards. Also, they got nominated for the best game debut. So yeah, something that I look up to. That's a good company. Has put the indie game devs on the console market with a very good what do you say critical reception. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, that was pretty much it. And everyone in the audience, they'll be sticking around, they'll be here. But before that, I would want each one of, in the same order that I asked the last question, if there is a handle or if there's a social media, a page that you are available or you would want the audience to follow, please share that right now. I mean, starting with Mohan. You're on mute, Mohan.
So follow us. Our Instagram handle is Chennai Games. So please follow us if you want to know more about core POR game and of course Mr. Razor updates.
Perfect. Deepak.
Yeah, follow us in our website, creativemonkeygames.com. So all
Perfect.
our social media will be there. Yep.
Perfect. Samith.
Yeah, you can know more about our games progress at Born Monkey on Twitter. We're
Okay.
active there.
Perfect. And Rituraj.
You can reach out to us on LinkedIn with simple page, or if anyone wants to personally reach out to me, Rituraj Behra, you can just search for it and contact me directly as well.
Perfect, perfect. I'll also ask one more question after this. And hey, I've been part of IGDC, and if you are interested, you can follow me on the LinkedIn page or on my YouTube handle. On my Instagram handle called Juni Sessions. One last question that I wanted to ask, and we're running out of time, is what is your interest outside gaming? What is that one beautiful thing that you sort of look forward to other than the gaming? And starting with Mohan. Like this, I don't want to say a hobby, but this is something that you enjoy and love doing, or this gives you a lot of peace. Mohan.
Yeah, watching movies. That could be my second hobby. Watching
Perfect,
movies
perfect.
and getting some inspiration out of it.
Great, great. Samith.
Yeah, just Netflix and chill. That's it.
All right. Rituraj.
I love watching and playing cricket. And of course, Netflix.
Perfect. And Deepak.
Of course, watching movies and driving, going for a long drive.
Awesome, awesome. Well, that is what I wanted to ask. Is I mean, there is so much that is happening in the virtual world. Are we continuing to do something in the physical world as well? Anyway, thank you so much, Mohan, Rituraj, Deepak, and Samith for being part of this session. And we have had lots of people coming in and tuning into and asking a lot of questions. Everyone in the audience and the handouts, there is a page where you can provide your feedback. Please continue, participating in the other talks that are happening at IGDC, and everyone on the panel. please click on backstage, and I will see you there. So, audience, thank you so much.
Thanks, Arjun.
Thank you all. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you
Thanks,
all.
everyone.
Thanks, everyone.